Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Is it windy where you are? Windy here, blowing a hooligan, as they used to say. We must be getting perilously close to Mr. Muirhead's holidays now. Not sure when you're away, Gary, but I know it's fairly soon. Is anyone getting away anyone else getting away this summer? Let us know in the chat. Love to know when you're off or where you're off to. I checked this morning. It's just over 6 weeks until I head off to Las Vegas for the Mine Expo show. Have to say, looking forward to the show enormously, even if I'm not looking forward to the travel part of it. Incidentally, this year's convention of the National Federation of Demolition Contractors will take place in Rome, amidst the ruins of a fallen empire that once influenced the world. They may have less members these days, but it's good to see their sense of irony remains intact. Will Bennett has just joined us and just said, "Oh, very nice." I think he's probably referring to my trip to Las Vegas rather than my outfit today. Just those of you that have been around, the hat's back. It's been a while. Dredged it out of a box and thought I'd give it an outing. Let's have a look. Ken Hatcher saying no wind here. It's certainly blowing it here. Can't see me having a holiday. Been 6 years now. Come on, Ken. Come on, you have to rest yourself, my friend. That's how you keep going. And speaking of which, I'll make it all clear when we get a bit closer to it. Our after show, thanks, Will Bennett. He's enjoying the idea of me going to Las Vegas. Also enjoying the outfit. I really appreciate that. Yes. Where was I going with this? Yeah, I was talking about the fact that our after-show discussion today is about the fact that we have an aging workforce and what that might mean for demolition and construction. So, if you're a person of a certain age, like myself, you might want to stick around for that. If you are dreading the thought of old age, you still might want to stick around because, let's have a look. Alex Latham, morning, Alex. Good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Fly off on Sunday the 25th this month, 13:20 from Prestwick Airport. Can't wait. Fantastic stuff. I'm sure you're looking forward to it. Again, well deserved. And everybody needs a break. Even if you can't get away overseas, everybody needs a break. Mind you, I've been to Hillhead and Plantworks. Plantworks was last year. I know Hillhead was this year, but Plantworks was last year. You need to take some time for yourself, Ken. That's how you ensure your longevity. Look at me, 107 years old, but I take regular breaks, and therefore I'm still here. LaBaker 250. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but just said hi, and hi back to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's get on with the show. As I say, lots and lots to get through today, including if you are feeling a little bit old, a little bit tired. After show discussion will be the thing for you. Let's roll the intro. Oshoma Tech over on Instagram just said, bless up. I have no idea what that means, but right back at you, Oshoma Tech. What we got in the chat? Somebody's just arrived, I think. Dan Cullen's here, top of the morning, y'all. And Ken Hatcher. My head is 18 and my body is 80, so I'm slowing down slowly. I know the feeling. Yeah. The one thing I would say, I occasionally refer to the fact that I've had a senior moment, when you go upstairs and forgot. By the time you get to the top of the stairs, you've forgotten entirely why you went there in the first place. Have a few of those, but nothing out of the ordinary. Body shot all to hell. Brain, not a problem. LaBaker 250 says, bless up, brother. Love you. Well, love you too. Thank you very much. You just made my morning. Thank you. Gary Muirhead says, Prestwick Airport is the only airport in the UK that Elvis flew into on his one and only time he visited the UK, and I can back that up as a major Elvis fan. That is absolutely true. Word was that he was afraid of flying, but I'm not entirely sure if there's any truth in that. But yeah, as a major Elvis fan, I have a tattoo to prove it. Yeah, that is absolutely true. None of that's got anything to do with the show today. So it is Friday, the 9th of August. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, Tight spot Takuchi's. Hose repairs go remote. John Deere makes the grade, and the company that crushes mountains. Plus, as I've already flagged up, in the news discussion portion of the show, we're going to be looking at the issue of how an aging workforce might change the landscape of the demolition and construction industry, quite possibly forever. But before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine, which will be back after this. Yeah, having emerged victorious yesterday, I'm not going to make it easy for you today. We are, well, let me show you. This is what you've got to work with. There you are. That's a bit of machine. I would like from you, please, the make and the model. Not a current machine. It's from, I wouldn't say it's from way back when, but it's certainly from a bygone era. If you can identify that, you'll be doing very well indeed. Make and model, if you would be so kind. And while you're trying to figure that out, and I'll take that away for just a moment, while you're figuring that out, let me also introduce today's Excavator World Cup match. The show can start properly now because Mark Whiting has just arrived. Morning, Mark. Good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed for being here. You're just in time for, first of all, the mystery machine, which looks like that. I will show you a bit more in just a moment. But our Excavator World Cup match is this. Somebody predicted that it was going to be a very straightforward cut and dried one today. I'm not entirely sure that is the case, but we are basically pitting Kobelco against New Holland. Usual rules apply. You have an imaginary £100,000 to spend on investing in a new excavator or excavator fleet. Do you go Kobelco or do you go New Holland? Quite simple as that. So if you would care to type the words Kobelco, if you vote for Kobelco, or New Holland, if you vote for New Holland, over in the chat, that would be marvellous. Now let's have a look. We've already had the first vote for Kobelco. Kind of the way I'm expecting it to go, but hey, listen, I've been surprised before. Hitachi lost to O&K. I didn't see that coming. So, mystery machine, let me throw that back up on the screen. I'm going to say good morning to Kerry Jones. Haven't seen Kerry for ages. Morning, Kerry. Thank you very much indeed for being here. So, mystery machine, Dan Cullen is going for a Cat motor grader. No. And Gary Muirhead is going for the Ford 655C. It is not. I can tell you, it's none of those things. You haven't got the right make and you haven't got the right model. So keep the guesses coming in. I tell you what, just to be absolutely fair and kind, there's a bit more. That's what you're working with. Now, interestingly, I was expecting this to go a complete whitewash in favour of Kobelco. Dan Cullen, not having it. He's going for New Holland. Hey, listen, New Holland makes some damn fine excavators. No mistake about it. But I was kind of expecting people to go all Kobelco. Could go down to the wire, this one. We shall see. I'm going to take that away because we do need to get the main part of the show underway right after this. How do you work in a tight spot? Well, as you're about to see, Takuchi holds the key.
Hi, I'm Luke Clark.
And I'm Dave Vickers.
We both run Clickers Construction. We do building and groundworks. My primary role in the business, I take care of everything above DPC perhaps really.
So I front up the groundworks and the plant side of the business. And it's these Takuchi machines, like the one behind me, is the reason why we are here today.
When I first started buying machines 16 years ago, my father, who was a plant fitter, time served, said to me, if you're going on your own, you need a Takuchi. And from the moment I drove my first Takuchi machine, I was instantly hooked.
So you need a reliable machine, you need a driver-friendly machine, because you're going to be in that machine for long periods.
So the machines that we've got in our fleet are the TB217R, we have a 219, we've then got the 325R, we have a 290, and the biggest machine of all is the 2150R.
I will say the main reason why I, as an operator, love the Takuchi brand the most is gradability. Grading is one of the hardest things you can do, and you can grade in any Takuchi machine to a very good standard. The reason why the Takuchi machines are so good at grading is the smoothness of the hydraulics. You can soon bring the bucket in at a lovely, nice level because the hydraulics are so smooth, and also keeping good speed in the hydraulics. So it isn't just a slow grade, you can be very productive with the machine. When you have multiple machines on a fleet, you have to think of serviceability, dealer backup. It's always important to have good backup from your dealer, and with our Takuchi dealer, Parkway Plant Sales, they are fantastic. They can't do enough for us. And also residual value is a big factor. The numbers have to stack up. So after operating the Takuchi machines for a certain period of time, we have optimum residual value, and then we buy new. So it's all good for keeping the fleet fresh. If I was choosing one word to describe Takuchi machines, the only word that comes straight into my head is reliability. They don't break down. We've operated a large range of them now. I've had a lot of machines in the past, and they are reliable. The way the industry is at the moment, it's all 100 mile an hour. And when you've got reliability, you can achieve all these time scales. Start, turn of the key, work all day, turn them off. And that is the key to it.
So reliability is everything to us at Clickers. So my favourite feature on any Takuchi machine really is the smoothness of hydraulics, especially when you're grading. Powerful, smooth and very responsive and quick. Makes the Takuchi the market leader for me.
It's weird how machines gain a reputation. Obviously, everybody has good experiences and bad experiences, but everybody that I've ever spoken to, I think, has said how reliable Takuchi are. Pretty much bulletproof would be my take on that. If anybody's got an experience on Takuchis, I'd love to hear from you. We do have some guesses on our mystery machine. We've got Dan Cullen who reckons it could be an XCMG GR1003 grader. It's not. Gary Muirhead, he's going for the Aveling Barford 160. Aveling Barford. Sad departure of Aveling Barford. John Deere 772 GP, says Dan Cullen. It's not one of those. Kerry Jones, I agree. Takuchi, as good as they get. Yeah, you're not the first person that said that to me. And Gary Muirhead is going for O&K and F106A. It's not. I probably need to show you a bit more, don't I? There you are. Let me show you that. Does that help at all? Maybe. Don't forget, we are still taking votes on our Excavator World Cup as it stands at the moment. Kobelco is leading New Holland, but there's still a long way to go through the show, so keep those votes coming in. If you prefer Kobelco, just type Kobelco in the chat. If you prefer New Holland, you can fill in the gaps. You know what to do. I'm going to be right back after a smidgen of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
If you popped a hose right now, chances are you could get on the phone to your head office. You get on the phone to Pertec or one of the other hose repair companies out there. Not so easy if you're in the middle of nowhere. Have a look.
Bengala's a single cut open pit mine, situated in the upper Hunter Valley, and we supply international markets with thermal coal. We're a 24-hour operation and we operate 364 days a year. Running 24/7 puts a lot of stress on our suppliers. When you're located close to your OEMs and your suppliers, you don't pay that much attention into your hose solutions and whatnot because it's readily available. But when it comes to remote sites, it completely changes. When you're dealing with stuff in the pit and you got to get your tier 1 machines up and running again, you don't want a 3-hour wait time. But the beauty of what we've got here is that we can have that hose made in 15 minutes. So by the time the guys get from the pit to the hose workshop, the hose is ready to go. So we're looking at minimal downtime. This is where everything happens. And then we've also got a storage solution outside. From the inception of the guys wanting a hose, them ordering a part, it spits out information here for the boys in the workshop. They create the part, they'll stage it in the storage container, and then that's on the work order for the guys to come and collect. Inventory management is basically controlled by our computer systems. So whenever stocks get low, it automatically gets reordered and we get trucks to the gate twice a day. The advantage of having this setup is that CAT provides a variety of couplings and hoses that suit every application. You can standardise your hoses across all your equipment for a mixed fleet. With the hose container solution, it makes things a lot easier for me in terms of compliance because rather than have to deal with numerous OEMs, I can make sure that our standards are met in-house.
This hose solutions are paramount for us to get our equipment back up and running. So we've seen other sites, particularly New Hope Group, who've had this sort of solution before, but nothing technologically advanced is what we've got here. When we're looking for innovative ideas and whatnot, Westrac and Caterpillar have got, got all the support systems in place and are able to cater to our needs. Their rugged design and, their tough manufacturing processes they got and the stringent, the QA that they do on them, they're unrivaled, to be honest. So not only do we have trained technicians here to make them during the day shifts, we've also trained our breakdown technicians so they can step in during night shifts or during the weekends and make a hose. When you multiply that tangible benefit across the whole fleet for over a year period, the savings are significant. Solutions like this provide us with great cost savings, great reliability, all the things that we look for, for continuous improvement. It's a great idea for any remote site. This seems to be like the full one-stop shop. It just makes sense to have.
Very smart indeed. I can tell you, over on our mystery machine, I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Chris Ford, who has just arrived. Chris, this is the mystery machine as it stands right now, and the guesses have started to get down to the nitty-gritty. Dan Cullen reckons it could be a CAT 623G. Kerry Jones reckons it could be a CAT 657 scraper. Dan Cullen's going for the 615C. Gary Muirhead going for the CAT 657. CAT 627, says Dan Cullen. He also says the 613. CAT DW21. It is none of those things. What I will tell you, and there's another one, CAT 613C from Dan Cullen. And Dan Cullen is also going for the John Deere 826B scraper. Okay, so the good news is you're right when it comes to scraper. However, it's not a CAT and it's not a John Deere. Dan Cullen is also going for the Dresser 431. Mark Whiting, CAT 637, definitely not a CAT. Is Caterpillar still using the CAT press hose system? As far as I know, they are, but I'm out of the loop. Obviously used to do the PR for Leverton and stuff back in the day. Don't know. Out of the loop completely. So if anybody's got anything to add on that, I'd love to hear from you. That's the mystery machine. I tell you what, I'm going to show you a smidge more. There you are. Doesn't really help because I think we know what sort of machine we're looking at. Just need a make and a model, if you would be so kind. And since Chris Ford has just arrived, there we are. That is our Excavator World Cup match for today. Kobelco versus New Holland. Choose one and type the name in the chat. Which one would you prefer to have? New Holland or Kobelco? Take that away. And it's time to move on a little bit. I think you'll enjoy the next one because it's John Deere. Interesting. It looks like I might actually have to count today. All the other shows have been a complete whitewash in favour of one machine, but we've got another vote for New Holland. Chris Ford and Dan Cullen both going for New Holland. I think it's 3-2 to Kobelco, but it could still go down to the wire. Dan Cullen reckons our mystery machine could be a Terex TS14. It is not. You're kind of headed in the right direction, but it's not. I tell you what. Let me add a. Excuse me. Just drunk too much tea. There you are. That's a little bit more. This is well. I mean, it's an older model. You can obviously see what it is. But not only is it a make that nobody's mentioned today, it also has a distinctive title. I don't even know what to tell you about that. It will become clear when we get to it. And we've had another vote for New Holland. I think it's 3 each. This could be the first time it comes down to me, the deciding vote. Oh, God. Upset one person and please another. That's going to be the case, I think. Keep the guesses coming in, or keep the votes coming in as well. So, John Deere Graders, have a look. I can tell you that we've just had another vote in for Kobelco. Ken Hatter has put his name against the Kobelco brand, so I think that's Kobelco back in the lead. I will have a count up in just a moment. Now, I can tell you that Chris Ford, I'm almost inclined to give. In fact, I'm going to call the mystery machine. That's what it is. Chris Ford has said it's an international pay scraper. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is, and I can prove it. There you are. There you are. It is an international pay scraper, also known as a paddle scraper, oddly enough. I don't know why that would be, but there you are. Chris Ford is doing well this month. That's another. Where are we? Let me think. One. So, as it stands at the moment, Dan Cullen, Chris Ford, and me all on 6 points on the Mystery Machine League table this month. And speaking of league table, here is last month's champion, just arrived, Steve Williamson. Morning, Steve. You're too late for the Mystery Machine, but I would like your vote, if you would be so kind, on that. That is our World Cup of Excavator match today. Is Kobelco against New Holland. Which would you prefer to own, a Kobelco or a New Holland? Steve, let us know. Anybody else, let us know as well. Mark Whiting just coming under the wire with Wabco. Wabco, there's a blast from the past. A 353 FT. It is not. It was definitely the IH, the International Pay Scraper. Chris Ford is correctly identified. So well done, Chris. You've gone from propping up the league to topping the league. Who'd have thunk it? Yes, got more to do. Anyone remember? I tell you what, let me play this first and then I'll tell you all about it.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Anyone remember the band The Shaman? Remember those? I'm going to guess early 90s, thereabouts. They were probably most famous for a song called Ebenezer Good. He's a good, he's Ebenezer Good. Yeah, you remember that? Before they did that, they did a song called I Can Move Any Mountain. So can this lot.
This customer is Table Mountain Forestry. We're towards the Oregon coast over here, and they had just acquired this rock pit here. So this Kleeman product and these John Deere loaders are new to them in the last few months.
We have worked with Pape a lot since the 11 years that we've been in business. We were kind of new into the rock crushing game, so trying to pick what piece of equipment to go with was a challenge, but the product support, the help, the relationships we already have with Pape made it easy to make that decision.
This whole story with Table Mountain really started at ConExpo. That's whenever I first met the owners, Zach and Kyle. And here we are now, 4 months later. 3 Kleeman in, 2 John Deere wheel loaders, and 1 way to go. Today, we started crushing with an MC110 Evo 2 jaw crusher that was feeding into MC090 Evo 2 cone crusher. And late in the day, we were able to plug in really quickly a third Kleeman, which was the classifying screen MS953 Evo.
My personal opinion for making the decision to go with Kleeman was all about our sales rep, to our product support guys, to the Kleeman reps that have come out, to Pape's rep that represents Kleeman. They've been outstanding, and that's huge as an owner to be able to pick up the phone and make a call and somebody answers on the other side.
We can get them a part, we can get them a service truck, we can get them another product they need, and that brings profitability and a success to their company that they need to do business.
Dealing with Working, they have a 24-hour hotline for parts, 24-hour hotline for service.
Being a phone call away really makes things easy. Peter, he is huge. He is a brain when it comes to these Kleeman crushers. If you got a code or a defect or anything going on with the plant, you call him, he'll tell you the answer right away.
We're 2 years into this partnership, and Pape has exceeded all the expectations. They committed a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars into parts to make them available for companies like Table Mountain, and they sent at least 50 people into our training facilities to be trained and make sure they have people that are competent and knowledgeable to be able to work on the machines and support the customers.
Having a home base in Nashville, Tennessee that has a training facility, has an unbelievable parts facility, being able to go through the parts center and look at all the parts they have in stock, I really felt good about the product that we were going to push out to our customers.
Hands down, the product support has been unbelievable, and that has drove us to do a lot of business with Pape, Kleeman, and all of them, to have the support that it takes to, especially when you're a small business and trying to grow, and being creative and finding the ways to make it work.
Working is very concerned about how our customers are doing, and they support them 100%, and I feel we're one big team.
When you know you have people behind you that want you to succeed, from our sales reps to our product support guys to everybody that wants to help make it succeed, is pretty amazing. And it's cool to be a part of a team that we have, and it'll be exciting to see where we go in the future.
Kind of makes you envious, doesn't it? Steve Williamson just said another great American video, and he also says, look at that service truck. Dan Cullen says that's some setup there, and 24-hour hotline. Wow. Yeah, I guess if you are crushing an entire mountain, you probably need that. Great company, great companionship, as it should be. As it should be. I've got one more video to play before I go off ranting about the aging workforce. So I can tell you, Kobelco is currently in the lead, but it's very, very tight. If anybody hasn't voted yet, please do so. That is our World Cup of Excavators. If you prefer Kobelco, type Kobelco in the chat. If you prefer New Holland, type that in the chat instead. I'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Holly. Join Mark Antley on The Breakfast Show. We are Ovenden.
The final film of today, not particularly good quality. I have to be honest, not particularly good quality. However, the content, I think, makes it worthwhile. So you know those people that look at a tilt rotator and say, I don't need that. I'm a brilliant operator. I can do all that you can do with a tilt rotator without having actually to buy a tilt rotator. If you encounter one of those, show them this and then tell them, match it. Yes, when I introduced that, I said get people to watch that video if they don't believe in the tilt rotator idea, and show them that and tell them to match it. Steve Williamson has a slightly different approach. He says just call them bell ends. I think you have a point. Let's have a look. Steve says, efficiency at its best, job done quicker, and on to the next. Dan Cullen says, is that Steve? Looking like Scottish weather. It's not Steve. A great addition. I'd definitely be interested in one. Steve Williamson says, and done to a higher quality than some BAM in a machine. BAM? BAM in a machine without one? He also says, love it. Gary Muirhead, there's always an occasion on site every day when you say to yourself, I wish I had a tilt rotator for this job. I bet there is. I bet there is. There was another question here from Steve, who said, yeah, there we are. On our Excavator World Cup, he actually said, who the hell picked New Holland over Kobelco? Well, I can tell you, Dan Cullen did, Chris Ford did, and Mark Whiting did, but they've been outvoted, as you're about to find out. So let me take that away, because I need to do this bit for the clip. So the latest round of our Excavator World Cup competition pitted Kobelco against New Holland. But which brand came out on top? Well, we put it to the public vote, and I can tell you that the winner is Kobelco. Kobelco goes forward to the second round, while New Holland leaves us empty-handed. Monday's match will see Sunward take on Terex. That'll be an interesting one. So make sure you tune in for that. Let me head back to the chat. New Holland is a great machine. Not arguing with that one bit. Not arguing with that one bit. And I think that the further we get into the Excavator World Cup, the more the decision is going to be hard. We've got one coming up, for example, in about a week's time, I think. We are going to be pitting Lugong against Komatsu. Both have their positives. I guess they probably have their negatives as well, but both have their positives. Be interested to see. Steve Williamson says, New Holland machines are horrible, underpowered compared to the Volvo, better cab in the Kobelco too, by miles. Hence, you never see hardly any New Holland machines. To the Kobelco, I meant, not Volvo. Yes, indeed. Now, I'm going to talk about the aging workforce in a moment. Steve, if you'd like to go back to work because you're a mere whippersnapper, you feel free to do so. But I'm going to play this, and then I'll get into the next bit. We are witnessing a confluence, a coalescence of two factors that could have a long-lasting impact upon the very landscape of the demolition and construction industry here in the UK. On the one hand, as an industry, we have failed and we continue to fail to attract young people into the industry. At the same time, improved healthcare, shifts in pension provisions, and a widespread cost of living crisis means that we are all now working longer than ever before. Now, as someone of advancing years, I have no major issue with that. Haven't even thought about retirement at this point. And since the most strenuous thing that I do most days is lifting a mug of tea to my lips, there's no real reason for me to be going anywhere anytime soon. But those planning to work in demolition and construction into their dotage will face some specific and unique challenges. And I'd like to take a look at just some of those now. Construction and demolition work often requires significant physical exertion. As workers age, their physical strength, flexibility, and endurance naturally decline, which can make it difficult to perform those tasks safely and efficiently. Older workers are more susceptible to musculoskeletal disorders, joint problems, and slower recovery from injuries. The repetitive strain and physical demands of the job can exacerbate these conditions, leading to a higher risk of workplace injuries. Against that background, I'd like to show you a very quick video clip that might just improve the working life of those that are older or a bit less able-bodied. Here we go. So, just to be clear, that system is made by TS Engineers right here in the UK. You can find out more at tsengineers.co.uk. I've just posted a link to that in the chat. Now, getting back to the crux of the matter. Aging workers are more likely to have chronic health conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, like me, or arthritis, which could affect their ability to perform physically demanding tasks and increase absenteeism. As people age, their reflexes and reaction times tend to slow down as well, which can be dangerous in high-risk environments like construction and demolition, where quick responses to hazards are crucial. Hearing and vision decline with age, making it harder for older workers to perceive warnings or potential hazards, such as alarm signals or changes in the environment. Older workers may also experience more fatigue more quickly and require longer recovery times after strenuous tasks. This fatigue can lead to lapses in concentration and increased likelihood of accidents. While older workers often bring valuable experience and wisdom, cognitive decline can affect their ability to process information quickly, adapt to changes, and handle complex tasks. All of which paints a pretty bleak image of working in demolition and construction when you have more than a few grey hairs on your head. But there are other challenges too. The construction and demolition industries, let me do that again. The construction and demolition industries are increasingly integrating advanced technologies. Older workers may find it challenging to adapt to these new technologies due to lower digital literacy or resistance to change. They may also be less inclined or find it more difficult to learn new skills, particularly in rapidly evolving technological environments. With all that being said, however, older workers do offer some significant benefits. Excuse me. They often hold valuable knowledge and expertise that can be lost when they retire. Ensuring that this knowledge is transferred to younger workers is essential for maintaining continuity and preventing skill shortages. Encouraging older workers to take on mentorship roles can facilitate the transfer of knowledge and experience, while also allowing older workers to continue contributing in ways that are less physically demanding. When all is said and done, helping older workers to stick around might be our best hope for addressing the ongoing skill shortage. But it's a solution that is not without its challenges. So there we are. That's what I have to say on the subject. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen says, I'm nearly 50, but still feel like 25. Love what I do. No 2 days are the same. Yeah, absolutely. Mick Norton says, as this old plant operator approaches his 80th birthday, every mobility assistance is most definitely welcomed. And I do wonder, I wouldn't necessarily say that construction plant operating is necessarily seen as a young man's sport. But well, I tell you what, hold that thought, because I'm going to go over to Chris Ford. Chris says, getting old, tell me about it. My knees are shot along with my back. I'm as deaf as a post. If there's any background noise, the brain says yes, the body says no. I can trip over a sheet of paper. Even climbing into a machine can be a challenge, never mind getting out. Whoever fixed the retirement age didn't have a manual job. And therein, that's kind of the thought I had in my head when I first wrote that piece. As I said at the outset, we have as an industry failed continually and completely, to attract young people into the industry. So if we are to maintain the workloads that we've got at the moment, chances are we will have to fall back upon those that have got, as I say, a few grey hairs on the head, or in my instance, a few less hairs on their head. Does that change the way in which we work? Does it change the machines? And I do think that step ladder, we already know that one of our number, Graham Footy Williams, is using a kid's swimming pool ladder to get in and out of the machine. That should not be necessary. And if we do end up with a workforce that is getting older, which I think we're already headed towards anyway, if that's the case, should the manufacturers be looking at that and saying that's not an option, that should be a standard? Gary Muirhead says, this game definitely ages you, but it really bores my blood when you see the older generation working like dogs and the young ones just sitting around on their phones. Absolutely shocking. They all need a boot up the hole. Well said. Dan Cullen says, no Jim today. I haven't seen Jim. No, you're absolutely right. And on the same line, younger generation not interested in construction. So, I mean, we all already seen the figures. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think the CITB predicted that we needed an additional 250,000 construction workers by 2026. They then sat on their hands for about 2 years and then came back and said, actually, we need 250,000 new workers by 2028. I've seen no real sign of an influx of young people coming into this industry, as Dan Collins rightly said there, younger generation is not interested in construction. So the reason that the CITB was predicting that requirement, that 250,000 extra people, was because, bizarrely, it was because of demand, workload, but it was also because we are facing a mass retirement. Can we, as an industry, afford a mass retirement? I would suggest that we can't. However, as I've just highlighted, I think if you take on or you maintain an older operator or an older operative, not working on a machine, but working on site, I think they bring an enormous amount of knowledge and skill and expertise and experience. I think they do all of those things, but they do have the challenges. And if one of those challenges is things like getting in and out of a machine and that kind of thing, is that going to be an issue? Steve says, to be honest, it's not the only young ones. It's not only the young ones on their phones. I've seen guys over 50 that are utterly useless and stay on their phone all day. Not just the young ones. I am inclined to agree with that. And I do wonder, to be perfectly honest, if there is something to be said. Bearing in mind, my phone is sat here. It's if it's not in my hand, it's in my pocket. I don't go anywhere without it. But I do wonder if there is a thought for actually parking phones up. And I know you'll like to listen to your podcasts and probably watch this show on a mobile device. Is it really aiding productivity? I wonder. Mick Norton says, yesterday my audiometrist was doing the annual service of my ear canals with removal of wax, and she asked, have you ever worked on heavy equipment? See, it's that easy to spot, is it? It's that easy to spot. That question reminds me, when I was diagnosed with cirrhosis, I'm mended, don't worry about it. Well, I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. And my doctor said, do you drink a lot? And I said, I mean, at that time I didn't. I said, no, I do not drink a lot. And my doctor literally sat back in his chair and went, you did though, didn't you? Yeah. Steve says if they ban phones, there will be no show. There will be no show. We wouldn't all be able to watch. Well, in that case, take back everything I said. Never mind productivity and health and safety. Hand everyone a mobile phone as they go to work in the morning. That's what I say. Dan says, I agree with Steve. Some people are totally addicted to YouTube and talking about weekend getting hammered. Yeah. I remember those days. The young ones are more interested in influence or videos in computers, not interested in working on sites. No. So, I mean, I think we know that. So, does that mean that we need to hang on to people? All of which kind of brings us full circle. We have a situation at the moment. Come December, I'm fairly sure it's December. Come December, all of those that have had their cards under grandfather rights will no longer have them. They are going to have to get themselves a nice little NVQ, because that's going to make all the difference. So they're going to have to get themselves an NVQ. So we're not bringing in enough young people. Imagine the industry like a funnel. So we're not topping it up at the top, but we've just chopped off part of the bottom to make sure that people flow out of the industry even more quickly. What bright spark came up with that? That's like the ship is sinking. What should we do? Punch another hole in it. What the hell? Dan says, I agree with Steve. Some people are totally addicted to YouTube. Oh, no, we've done that one. There was another one that I wanted to go back. See, there's the thing. Just the opening sentence of that. This game definitely ages you. See, there's another point. We know about the hazards, slips, trips, falls from height, asbestos, other toxins and stuff like that. But is anybody looking at that and thinking, well, that probably not good? An industry that prematurely ages people. That's given that we now live in an enlightened society where we know what's going on in the world. How are we still allowing that to be? How are we standing by and watching people prematurely age just because of the pressures placed upon them by the construction industry? And those pressures are only going to get worse. if you going back to the point I was making about a skill shortage, we need 250,000 additional construction workers by 2028. What happens if we don't get them? I'll tell you exactly what happens. You lot will be expected to plug the gap. You know, rather than working 10 hours a day, you'll be working 12 or 13. You'll be working weekends. You'll be doing the work of 2 people, possibly more. And I do wonder also whether that kind of pushes us towards, we've featured them on the show here, these remote workstations where you've got one person. Let's take Steve. Steve is sat behind the levers right now of an excavator. He is driving an excavator expertly, but that's what he does. That's all he does. He drives an excavator. Yes, he might help out on site, but he drives an excavator. If we have a shortage of people and we can harness technology, Steve, because he's young enough to be able to do so, could end up sat in a warehouse environment, but rather than operating an excavator, he could be operating an excavator, a wheel loader, and a dozer all at the same time. He's now doing the work of 3 people on his own. Now, do you honestly believe that anybody in the construction industry is going to look at that and say, Steve Williamson operating 3 machines, give him 3 sets of wages? Will they? Bollocks. Never going to happen. Mick Norton says, what does Mick Norton say? 20 years ago, an old school Irish piling foreman, a friend of mine, demonstrated his annoyance with the operator constantly on his mobile phone by snatching it out of his hand and throwing it 20 metres down an all good hole. It's still 20 metres down under a garage forecourt on the North Circular Road in London. I think there might be a few people under there as well. That's a whole other story. I'm already working most weekends, never mind the 10 hours a day. I've not known anything different. It's going to get worse. It is going to get worse unless we can cure the skill shortage and our inability to bring younger people into the industry. You know, if you're working 10 hours a day, call it 11, call it 12. If you're working Saturdays, you can probably expect to work Sundays as well. Now, there will be some people out there that are looking at that thinking, you know, those that, you know, this is their love, this is their passion. They might be rubbing their hands together and saying, well, rather than earning 5 days a week, I could earn 7. Happy days. I get to go and hang out with my mates at work, or possibly not. I get to drive a machine, which I love to do. Maybe that's a good thing. But going back to what Gary Muirhead said, this is an industry that already prematurely ages people. Imagine how much worse that would be if rather than doing this for 5 hours a day, or 5 days a week rather, you're doing it for 6 or for 7 all the time. Gary Muirhead says, there you are. Gary Muirhead says, I remember my friend telling me he had to visit the doctors because he had trouble passing water. Asked him what he did for the toilet. He said he would hold it until tea time. He was told that was the worst thing you can do. When you've got to go right then. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just the pressure of work. I'm sure that probably comes into it. But listen, you know, I've been in some site toilets. I'd rather hang on. I really would. And I'm saying this as somebody that has spent 2 weeks at the Glastonbury Festival. The toilets at the Glastonbury Festival are awful, but I've been in site toilets that are way, way, way worse. Given the choice between crossing my legs or going in one of those toilets, I'm going for the leg crossing all day long. Think about, I mean, I mentioned sort of musculoskeletal or musculoskeletal injuries and issues. Think about what you do. If you're an excavator operator, first of all, you've got to hoik yourself up onto a machine. So that's putting strain on probably your knees, your pelvis, possibly your back, your shoulders as you pull yourself up. And then when you get down, every time you get down off that machine, there's a jolt that goes through your ankles, your knees, your hips, quite possibly into your back as well. You're sat in a machine seat, which is, yes, it is vibration dampened and everything else, but no dampening is going to stop you doing that. And your body will be trying to lock you in place by using your core muscles. You're guaranteed to have a bad back at some point. Yeah, it's just guaranteed. It's going to happen. How do we keep the industry going if people are, you know, they are older, but they're all injured? Mick says, by its very nature, construction work is both challenging and dangerous. That's the nature of the beast. If you are of a snowflake mentality, perhaps construction is not for you. I'm not a big fan of the term snowflake, but let's run with that. I think it would be easy to argue that the world has more snowflakes now than ever before. Mainly because we've got a name for them, but we have decided those people are of the snowflake mentality. I can't see any likelihood of us having fewer snowflakes. I think we will get more. And when you think about it, I always think it's worth taking a big step backwards. There are lots to be said for this industry, and it's why I've stuck around for as long as I have. I love the people, I love the equipment, I love the attitude of a lot of people in the industry and all that goes with it. But if you sat down, imagine you go to a school, okay? You've got a 15-year-old boy or girl sat in front of you, and you're sat here trying to encourage them into construction, and beside you is somebody from, let's say, the tech industry, who is also trying to encourage that person into the tech industry. So the person in the tech industry says, well, we work in an air-conditioned office. We have a subsidized canteen. The work starts at 9. You're usually left by 5:30. The rates of pay are comparable. What about you? And then you go to construction. Well, actually, we generally start before 7. We don't really finish much before about 6:30. You'll be exposed to the pissing rain and the snow. You'll be cold. You'll be hot. There is constant danger, constant hazards. You'll probably be shouted at a lot. So, would you like to sign up? Now, if I'm a 14 or 15-year-old boy or girl, that's an easy set of maths for me. And I'm saying that as somebody that is a believer in construction and demolition. I am an absolute advocate for the industry, but we are competing head to head for the skills and the knowledge of those young people with tech companies, automotive companies, computer companies, retail companies. What do we have to offer? A lifetime of being berated, long working hours, possible injury, possible death. Not a great selling point, is it? Steve says, we've got the luxury premium seat on the Volvos, and wow, what a difference. Really comfortable sitting 12 hours a day. See, there's even that. We throw that term around. 12 hours a day. I mentioned this the other day, and admittedly, I was, I'm snowflakey in my general ways. Back when I was working for the publishing company that did Contract Journal and International Construction and Plant Managers Journal, it was heavily unionized, so we had restrictions and what have you. But my working week, let me say it again, my working week was 32.5 hours. Steve is doing more than that in 3 days. So going back to our 14 or 15-year-olds sat in their careers evening, are we going to go where you're required to work 12 hours a day, 5 and 6 days a week, with no social life? Or are you going to go with a publishing company that is more or less a part-time job but pays every bit as much? Steve says, the company I work for fit them all with a premium seat. Well, hats off to them. Hats off to them. I mean, hats off to them for buying Volvo in the first place, but hats off to them. He also says, we are doing 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, every day. And one of the things that I love about this industry is the fact that the people within it are not afraid of a bit of graft. In fact, it is an industry, I think, almost uniquely, that rewards graft well. If you are a hard worker, you keep your head down, you keep your nose to the grindstone and everything else, you'll be rewarded for that. You'll get your promotions, you'll get your pay rises, you'll get your better quality of machines, you'll get your better seat and everything else. I think that's fantastic. But you say to a young person, 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, so you can forget your social life, you can forget your sex life, you can forget the pub. Do kids do pubs these days? I don't know. You can forget all of that because you won't have time for it. It's hardly dangling a carrot, is it? Chris Ford says, I have 2 sons. The eldest works with me. The younger one tells me he works in IT. Not shit. Okay, I'll read that again. The young one tells me he works in IT. Not shit. fair comment, I would say. The more you and the more you do, the more is expected. That really pisses me off. Yeah. Let me do that again. It's not IT, it's SHIT, abbreviated. Thank you. The more you do them, the more is expected. That really pisses me off. And again, going back to my original contention with this piece anyway, was we have a skill shortage now, and we don't have enough people coming in to solve it. So you're expected to do a lot now. In all likelihood, you will be expected to do more in the future. And it might creep up on you. As I say, you know, I'm thinking 10, maybe 15 years hence. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to take a wild guess that Steve's probably 30 odd. I honestly don't know. But he's probably got another 20, 30 years in this industry. In 20, 30 years' time, you can honestly see the notion of having these remote like simulator stations where you're operating machines. But could he end up operating 2, 3, 4 machines for one wage? Yes, you might get a bonus for doing that, but 4 jobs for one wage. And if we do end up there, well, A, would it be a surprise? And B, what option would we have? What option would we have if we don't have enough people? And bearing in mind, you know, Labour Party has set a target of 1.5 million new homes in the next 10 years or whatever it might be. Somebody has got to build those. Somebody has got to build those. And if we've not got young people coming in to do that, somebody else will have to do it. End of this month, says Steve. I'm going to Lugong Dig Day near Aberdeen. Aberdeen! I think you'll have a fantastic day. Mick Norton says the woke brigade. Blimey. Mick Norton, or could be Piers Morgan, who the hell knows. The woke brigade have spread their snowflake message through every facet of society. Perhaps construction will follow the woke orientated armed forces recruits who are issued with a laptop to answer questions like, are you feeling valued, or do you feel you're being shouted at unnecessarily? The world's gone mad. I do wonder about that though. And listen, I've never had even the slightest brush with the military, and I know, Mick, you have. Is constantly shouting at people actually the best way to get the best out of people? It wouldn't work for me. I'd probably cry a lot and then quit. I don't think it would make me harder. I think it would make me softer, if anything. It bloody has. The world's gone nuts. All gone soft and fussy. I think that's pussyfooting around. Yeah, possibly. Possibly. Or is that after hundreds of years of doing things in a certain way, we've all woken up and gone, that's probably not the way. You know, bearing in mind, this is an industry that used to send people up tower blocks without harnesses. We used to send them to work without PPE. You know, we'd have people working at heights and everything else. We now know better. Is this modern take not just a reflection of that? Must go, lads. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe out there. Yes, do stay safe out there, because we can't afford any of you to get injured, because you're going to be working until you're 97 years old at this rate. There's something to look forward to. I think that will do us. I think that's an hour of everyone's business, and it is Friday. I'm sure you've all got better places to be than this. So please, go forth, would you? Have a great weekend. I'll be back here on Monday. Don't know what I'll be ranting about Monday, but I'm pretty damn sure I can find something. Until then, have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday. All the best.